I just had an energy drink. My heart actually feels like, can you hear my heart actually on the mic? Hey everyone, I'm Sam. Today we're going to see if expensive coilovers are worth it. I know for a fact there are a bunch of you out there just lurking on the internet trying to figure out how to lower your car right now, and you're running into the problem of how do you do that. If you aren't looking at how to lower your car and you're at factory ride height, there's probably something wrong with you, but I encourage you to enter your year, make, and model into our gallery at fitmentindustries.com, and you'll see how much cooler that car will look when it's lowered. Because we got people on there with the lowered cars on the coilovers, and it looks way cooler. Be cool, lower your car, don't ride at stock ride height. And while you're over there on our website after this video, check out all the coilovers that we have for sale at fitmentindustries.com if you didn't know already what that was. But should you lower your budget on coilovers? Let's dive into it, because that's the question we're looking at today. I love coilovers. I have them on all of my cars. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to getting your ride height just right, just where you want it, and also have the cool spring rate damping, valving, all that nerd stuff that comes with lowering your car depending on your application, what you're doing with the car. There are a ton of different options out there when it comes to coilovers. There are also a ton of different price ranges out there when it comes to buying those coilovers. I'm not gonna sit here though and tell you that those eBay specials you got for $500 are good. I'm sorry, it's just not worth it. I'll say it straight up to you. Unwatch those coilovers on your eBay watch list if you were looking at those, and just watch the rest of this video. You'll see why. If you do run those super cheap coilovers and they fail spectacularly, please send me or Fitment Industries a picture of that. I would love to see some automotive carnage. If your only goal is to slam your car and get it low by any means necessary, yeah, cheap coilovers will do that, but your spine and your car, they're not gonna be very thrilled. But what about the set that's expensive? Let's define what expensive is here, because that's kind of a relative term. Today, I'm kind of talking about anything from about $1,200 to $2,000. Once you start getting above that $2,000 mark, you're entering into the territory of some special use setups the majority of us won't even consider. They have remote reservoirs and a whole bunch of other adjustments that realistically, the majority of us aren't gonna use. Those setups are hella cool, but a bit out of the realms of realism for a lot of us, including me. What in the world, though, are you getting for the extra money over what you can find in the depths of eBay, like I mentioned before? For that extra money, you're going to get some nicer materials, but you're also getting a heck of a lot more research and development, or what I like to call R&D, as we say in the biz. This research and development, or R&D, is huge. The models in this price range that we're talking about are a lot of the entry to kind of mid-level tier for some of the more reputable brands that I would consider. These brands have an important thing called experience. This experience means that you're going to get a set of coilovers constructed with some of the better materials. Bushings are an example of this. Cheap coilovers usually have some questionable bushings, and those will wear out rather quickly, especially if you're super low. Small little parts like bushings are often overlooked, but they're super important because they do make a difference. I literally just swapped out coilovers last night with a blown out bushing, and they rode like absolute garbage compared to when the bushings were in good shape. The cool thing about coilovers is that they are also adjustable. These expensive coilovers will almost always give you more adjustability. Sometimes the adjustability is crazy. The Fortune Autos I put on last night have more adjustability than I will ever need. Like, the threading on them is insane, but it's nice to have it, because if you do need it, it's there. Hot take here. We're talking about coilovers. I just gotta be totally clean with you guys. I am kind of a coilover over air kind of guy. I just think it's kind of my thing, I'll be honest. This isn't just the materials and adjustability though. The support after the purchase is going to be a different story on the more expensive coilovers, and it's a good story. Also, when installing the coilovers in the price bracket we're talking about, it will go much more smoothly because everything just fits, like, better, and actually you can install it properly. I've done some installs on coilovers that were hella cheap, and we ended up needing to go to the hardware store to get bolts and nuts, and we had to do some custom fab work just to get the damn coilovers to fit. You're going to get some better install support for you too if you've never put these coilovers on a car. This price bracket has some of the most documented installs on YouTube, so you can see how others have done it on your chassis. Or, now this is gonna be a crazy concept for you guys, you can use the instruction materials that come with those coilovers. It's a mind-blowing thing to actually use the instruction materials and how to do it. Those Fortune Autos I just put on my IS300 came with a little QR code that brought me to a page giving me all the details I needed to install and adjust the coilovers on my car. Yeah, I've done coilovers before, but it's cool to run through the instructions and see how easy they make it, especially if someone has never done this before. It also gives you all the safety specs and parameters you need to stay within, and that's important. You also get some options for customizing your coilovers at this price point to better suit whatever application you've got and what you're doing with the car. The biggest one here, in my opinion, is spring rate. There will be a default spring rate in the coilover set that you're choosing for your platform, but you know what? Just give us a little call and we can get a custom spring rate set up perfect for you and your application. An example of that is what I needed for my IS300. I needed a much stiffer spring than what would usually come on those coilovers. Coilovers aren't just as simple as stiffer or softer springs because the valving and damping with those also has to be in line with that spring rate to get the most out of the coilovers in the proper ride. Speaking of springs, many of the coilovers in this price range will let you do a spring upgrade, such as moving up to Swift springs. I highly recommend this upgrade. I've driven the same spring rate with and without Swift springs, and there's a definite difference, especially if you're pushing your car hard like on the track. This is kind of a weird one, but if you ever go to sell the car, the parts used on that car can say a lot about the owner and how they took care of the car or absolutely didn't take care of the car and what story that has to tell. You get less questions when you have some BCs or Fortunatos as an example on there compared to some cheap whatever no-name brand you had and you go out for like $300 and they're just absolute garbage. I have listed a ton of advantages on here, so what's the big drawback that I'm hiding from you? There's gotta be something lurking here that's some big problem that's gonna totally change the conversation because we're kind of on a really positive path with what I've been saying. No, there's not, honestly. The main drawback is that you're gonna need to open your wallet a little wider and spend a little bit more money. I firmly believe that in this world, you usually do get what you pay for, and coilovers are absolutely no exception to that. All right, you crafty folks out there might be scheming and thinking, well, I can still save money and buy these expensive coilovers used and still cheap out and get some good coilovers because these are the brands you're talking about. I'll tell you right here, I wouldn't do that. Used coilovers can be kind of scary unless you're BFFs with this person. You're possibly getting into an absolute nightmare situation since you don't know how worn some of the internal components are or the abuse that they've had. You can also run the risk of getting some seized coilovers in a situation like this if the seller isn't honest, and then you're just kind of screwed and out of luck. So, are expensive coilovers worth it? Hell yeah, they are. All the coilovers I've had in the last few years have fallen exactly into this price range, and I've been super happy with them. Really, the only question is if you're able to spend the money. If you are sitting there and you've got $800, but you're on the fence and saving up, I'll tell you to save up. Do that for sure. You've heard it before, they should just save up, and that's 100% what you should do. You hear it all the time in the forums, like just wait, save up a little bit more and you'll be happier. With coilovers, I really think that's applicable here. All right, I appreciate you guys watching the video, and don't forget to swing over to fitmentindustries.com to see all of the coilovers we have for your car. I'm Sam, guys. Peace.